Hey, hi everyone. I hope you all are doing good. So, I'm going to start with cloud design patterns in my sessions now on. So, today I'm going to cover what is this ambassador design pattern is or a cloud design pattern. Okay. So, the ambassador design pattern says that create helper services that send a network requests on behalf of a consumer service or application. Okay, an ambassador service can be thought of as an out of process proxy that is co-located with the client. This pattern can be useful for offloading common client connectivity tasks such as monitoring, logging, routing, security, okay, and resiliency patterns in a language agnostic way. Okay, it is often used with the legacy applications or other applications that are difficult to modify in order to extend their networking capabilities. It can also enable a specialized team to implement those features. So, what problems ambassador patterns solve? It may be difficult or impossible to update legacy applications or existing code libraries to add cloud application features such as circuit breaking, routing, metering, and monitoring, and the ability to make network related configuration updates because the code is no longer maintained or available or can't be easily modified by the development teams. If these legacy applications or services are being used by multiple app services, okay, or applications or services and built using multiple languages and frameworks like Java, .NET, Python, Node, okay, then with a large code base, it can be risky for that team to update application code which they are not familiar with basically. Okay, so what solution this particular pattern provide? Put client framework and libraries into an external process that acts as a proxy between your application and external services. Okay. Deploy the proxy on the same host environment as your application. This application as well as the ambassador or the proxy both should be deployed on the same host environment, okay, to allow control over routing, resiliency, security features, and to avoid any host related access restrictions. You can also use ambassador pattern to standardize and extend instrumentation. The proxy can monitor performance metrics such as latency or resource usage, and this monitoring happens in the same host environment as the application. The most important consideration for implementing this pattern is that, guys, the application as well as the ambassador or the out of process proxy, what I would say, should be deployed on the same host environment. Okay, the application just delegates a network request to this out of process proxy or ambassador, and the ambassador will take the further responsibility of implementing resiliency features or any cloud features like authentication, authorization, security, monitoring, retry mechanism. All these things will be taken care by this particular ambassador. Okay, so features that are offloaded to the ambassador can be managed independently of the application. Okay, so what they are saying is whatever offloaded features have been put into this ambassador, right, those can be managed independently of your existing application code. No need to touch this application itself during running that application or at the code side because most of the common stuffs have been offloaded to this ambassador. You can update and modify the ambassador without disturbing the application's legacy functionality. It also allows for separate specialized teams to implement and maintain security, networking, or authentication features that have been moved to this ambassador. Okay, so a separate team will take the complete responsibility of managing this ambassador, guys. Okay, so that is the added advantage which comes with this ambassador pattern. Ambassador services can be deployed as a sidecar, another design pattern, a cloud design pattern, which I will explain in my next sessions, guys. Okay, so ambassador services can be deployed as a sidecar to accompany the life cycle of a consuming application or service. Alternatively, if an ambassador is shared by multiple separate processes on a common host, it can be deployed as a daemon or Windows service. Okay, you can host it as a Windows service. If the consuming service is containerized, if this consuming service is a containerized, then the ambassador should be created as a separate container on the same host. okay, with the appropriate links, configuration, and communication. Okay, so it's up to you what kind of communication, as both these processes coexist on the same hosting environment or the same computer, I would say. What I would suggest is either you can use inter-process communication like a TCP based communication, or you can put messages into a message queue which is ambassador can read. Okay, these are two separate processes. Always remember this point. Okay, so that's it. So that's what this diagram explains basically. This is your application code. Main functionality will be put into application code. So this is the ambassador which you create. One more process or one more proxy application, I would say, which will take care of all your common practices or common tasks like retry, circuit breaking, monitoring, security, everything. Okay, so application will send a request. This request will be enriched with all the additional features for the from the ambassador, and then that request will be sent to your remote service. Okay, so when to use this pattern? Okay, when there is a need to build a common set of client connectivity features for multiple languages or frameworks. Suppose there are n number of application. Just take an example of this diagram. Okay, there are n number of application. One application is built in C sharp, or you would say web service, for example. This web service is built in C sharp. Another one is built in say Java. There's one more Windows service or a WPF kind of application which is built using the Microsoft WPF technology. Okay, there are some more applications built which are based on Java Swing technology. So there is a need to build a common set of client connectivity features for multiple languages or frameworks. Okay, so all these applications basically wants the same common set of client connectivity features in order to connect with external services or the company hosted internal services. In such cases, that's why they say need to build a common set of client connectivity features for multiple languages or frameworks. Okay, then you can make use of this pattern. Okay, whatever technology you implement your application, but the connection protocol, okay, the connectivity strategy or the common set of client connectivity features will be implemented by this ambassador. Okay, that way this ambassador is language agnostic, and whatever kind of application you have in your organization, it may be a legacy application. Okay, it will work as it is, no need to make much changes. The ambassador will take the responsibility of enriching such requests and sending to the appropriate services. Need to offload cross-cutting client connectivity concerns to infrastructure developers or other specialized teams. Okay, that's what the infrastructure developers will make use of this ambassador. They will basically maintain its code base and its all the life cycle management. Need to support cloud or cluster connectivity requirement in a legacy application or an application that is difficult to modify. When there's a need to support cloud or cluster connectivity requirements, which is very modern nowadays, and which is required in a legacy application, and an application which is very difficult to modify because the code is no more maintained, it's very difficult to modify, and there is no such expertise. In such cases, go with this pattern. This pattern is not appropriate when network request latency is critical. Okay, a proxy will introduce some overhead. Always remember, guys, the request will go from application to proxy. Okay, there is a network call, even if it is a inter-process communication in the same host, but still there's a little overhead. There is a network call. Okay, and then ambassador will enrich the request, then it will send. Okay, that's why they say when network request latency is critical, okay, this is not an appropriate pattern to use. A proxy will introduce some overhead, although minimal, and in some cases, this may affect the application. When client connectivity features are consumed by a single language, in that case, a better option might be a client library that is distributed to the development teams as a package. Okay, instead of deploying it as another process in your hosting environment, what you need to do is when the client connectivity features are consumed by a single language, simple programming language. In such cases, it's better to use it as a library. For example, we create a lot of libraries in C Sharp or Java, right? Just make it as a library and reference it from the application itself. Okay, that's what they are saying. When connectivity features cannot be generalized and require deeper integration with the client application. When connectivity features can't be generalized, they are not common in nature. Each and every application has a different connectivity requirements. In such cases, what you need to do is you are not allowed to make use of this pattern because the connectivity features cannot be generalized and require deeper integration with the client application. That's what. each and every application, if you take n number of blocks, each and every application has a different requirement, so you can't make use of ambassador over there. So a simple application over here, okay, which I would like to show is send request. There is one application which send request to remote service via ambassador proxy. Okay, it will send the request. The first step is sending request, which is done by application. Then it's the ambassador's responsibility to determine location of remote services and route request appropriately. Check circuit breaker state. If the service is down, then you have to break the circuit, okay, in order to prevent further requests. Okay, enrich request headers with tracing information, start measuring the request latency, encrypt and send the request. So all kind of these common features or cross-cutting concerns, I would say, all these things should be taken care by this ambassador, and then you send the request. Okay, and then receive the response, and then give it back to the application. Okay, I hope you people understood the notion of ambassador design pattern. Okay, I hope it will be useful for you people for your day by day designs. Okay, thank you for listening and have a nice day.